Shape Scape is a Minnetrista original that we really built around a popular interactive that we use at Minnetrista frequently called the Imagination Playground, which is a large set of blue foam blocks that families tend to use when we put it out to create different kinds of things. It's already sort of geared towards team building and sort of creative play, but we really wanted to create a sort of site-specific exhibition that would provide people with a deeper prompt for thinking about how to play with Imagination Playground. So rather than just providing them the tools and really letting them kind of go about it on their own, we wanted to give a much more specific idea for the kind of thing that could be done. In this case, for Shape Scape, it is thinking about how we as individuals influence the world around us, how we really build our world. In this case, it's going to be how people can shape and reshape our Minnetrista campus, our 40 acres. We started thinking about the idea for this exhibit in 2021 when we were a brand new team and we had a brand new designer on site with us, and wanting to do something that was going to be a bit more build heavy. So we knew that we wanted to create a kind of an environment for the Imagination Playground. And that's really where we started with this kind of idea of make your own Minnetrista. That went in a couple of different directions. We do have a lot of materials in our collection that relate to the history of our site that we did end up deciding to use and incorporate around the walls. You can see some of those photos are hanging out right now. The name Shape Scape came along kind of down the line, in part because we didn't want to just call it Imagination Playground, because it's an element of this exhibit, but it's not the whole shebang, really. We really liked early on this idea of blowing up our site map. One of the features of Minnetrista that we feel at the moment we don't utilize as much is the history of our site as a site. And we have this great sort of map, this color-coded map that tells people about our different areas, but not necessarily a lot of the context about how that landscape has evolved over time. So a Shape Scape is going to include a big kind of simplified floor mat that people can really walk into and immerse themselves in. And hopefully they'll walk away with a little bit of an understanding about how different people and different generations have helped our site evolve over time, and how our visitors within the context of this play can sort of bring their own spin to what Minnetrista might be in the future.
Shape Scape was a unique project due to the fact that we had Imagination Playground, these big foam blocks that we were starting with. And usually in design, you start with the story and the narrative, and then you work into what your activity is going to be. So having that to begin, we kind of designed a little bit in reverse. We knew we wanted the show to be about the site and about building. So incorporating shape, obviously, and layers into the design was something that really informed it. Knowing we had the build interactive with Imagination Playground, we wanted to supplement that and kind of talk about the whole process of designing a site and an institution. So we settled on design, build, play. Visitors will be able to see historic site plans and maps of what the site used to be, and then kind of go and explore the floor mat and make those connections and see really how the site of Minnetrista really is multi-layered. And then also think about what this site will look like in 50, 100 years, and kind of build their own Minnetrista. So that was the main driving force behind the Shape Scape design. After the design was done, we went into fabrication, and the show had a few big pieces, unique pieces. Obviously the floor mat, which is actually reused plastic tiling from a volleyball exhibit we had years and years ago. So installing that, there's a rubber mat underneath it to protect our floors and make it a little easier on people's feet. Additionally, the prototyping table, and we have a few pedestals and things, but those were pretty straightforward to build. And then we contracted out the printing of 65 of these pictures, historic pictures from our collection. And then lastly, the vinyl signage, which has a lot of the interpretation, and the title wall was all done in-house. So it was a challenge, but I think it'll really be illuminating to folks as they can kind of walk around it in real time and orient themselves to some of the places they've been outside. When visitors enter the exhibit, the first thing they hit is the design section, where they're able to see pictures and diagrams of potential projects at Minnetrista throughout the years. There's a whiteboard where they can sketch out some of their ideas, and then a prototyping table behind me where there's these little mini versions of Imagination Playground where they can, again, prototype some of the builds that they're thinking before they use the big blocks on the main map. So then after prototyping, they can go out onto the floor mat and build and play with the life-size Imagination Playground. So then after the guests are able to build with Imagination Playground blocks, we have the final section, which is the Reimagine It area, where they can see some historic examples of projects around Minnetrista which historically didn't work out. And then they're able to kind of start the whole process over again and go back to the design table, maybe rethink how their original design didn't work, and it's kind of this cycle that they can design, build, play, repeat.
What we're really hoping that people will take away a bit more about is the history of our site. Minnetrista Museum and Gardens today really sits right almost in the heart of Muncie along the north side of the White River. And it is a space that many of our locals come and spend time all the time. They walk, they run with their dogs, they bring their families to play. And it's such a beautiful landscape, but one that in and of itself has such a deep history with Muncie that you don't really see a ton of when you're just walking around outside. So the images that visitors will experience in the gallery, they'll see historic photographs of our Ball family mansions, the Minnetrista house that's now gone, Nebosham, Maplewood, Oakhurst. And they'll really see different projects that have really helped this landscape evolve into what people experience today. You know, the houses have been renovated over time. Certain ones have been torn down. We've added gardens. One thing that we really love seeing this time of the year is prom photos that are being taken in our rose garden that a lot of people don't know actually only dates to the 1990s, because that is a project that Minnetrista staff in that time period took on and really did their own sort of version of design, build, play. And in that space has obviously been incredibly successful because it's a space that people really love today. So there's a lot of history that we have outside here at Minnetrista that we're hoping that people will enjoy thinking about.
I hope you come see the show. We're really proud of it. It'll be open through September 11th.